You are now watching I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel.
I shot him 6 times! What's going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus. If you have not done so already, please shoot this video a like. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm a ton. As well as if you're a new viewer to this channel, please shoot that subscribe button as well as that notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. I will warn you ahead of time if you have not watched Scream 6 or have been keeping up with the spoilers or both, this video may not be for you as it does contain spoilers for Scream 6. Okay, everyone, so if you have been a viewer and a subscriber to this channel, do you know even before Scream 6 was even released, and now even more so after its release, then you know that for a fact that I believe that not only is Stu Macher alive and well in the Scream franchise as a previous Ghostface killer who survived his wounds and is amongst us in the franchise, just not revealed yet, then you also know that I believe the same for Charlie Walker, one half of our Ghostface killers from Scream 4. If you also have been keeping up with the channel here over the last few months, do you know that leading into Scream 6, I believe that Kirby Reed could potentially be revealed as Ghostface in Scream 6. Now, we did not get that in Scream 6. However, they did make Kirby Reed look like a massive red herring. And in my opinion, I think they set the table for a possible turn of face from Kirby Reed in Scream 7 if they decide to go with this theory and this story of Stu Macher and previous killers being alive being revealed in Scream 7. And in this video, I'm going to share some details and some clues that I think point to Stu Macher, Kirby Reed, and Charlie Walker working together. Okay, everyone, so the first clue that makes me believe that Kirby Reed could potentially be involved with Stu Macher and Charlie Walker is this opening scene from Scream 5 with Tara Carpenter being attacked. Now, we already know we got Charlie Walker Easter eggs and Stu Macher Easter eggs in this scene as the killer identified himself as Charlie when they called Tara and got mad at Tara for not getting Stu Macher's name right as one of the killers in the original Stab film. However, you most likely missed it in the dialogue when Ghostface is talking to Tara, but in my opinion, this little piece of dialogue that I'm about to play for you guys makes me believe that this could actually be Kirby Reed talking to Tara Carpenter on the phone. Another clue that I think you can make a case for being Kirby Reed involved in this opening scene in Scream 5 is the fact of Tara's security alarms. Now, I know there's some people out there that believe Christina Carpenter is behind it, which would explain why the killer was easily able to breach the security system. However, Kirby Reed, being an FBI agent, also supports this theory as well, as she would be able to breach almost any security system, giving her knowledge and the tools that they gave her learning certain things in the FBI, much like her knowing how to trace a call in 15 seconds. So without wasting any more time, let's get to the clips and you guys be the decider for yourselves.
Correct. You see, you're gonna do great at this weapon, okay?
It's a machete.
There, you see, you do know the genre.
Though it is not word for word the same dialogue, the dialogue in itself is eerily similar in my opinion. These next clues I want to bring to you guys' attention is from Scream 6, where we get the scene of Samantha Carpenter outside of her apartment building getting her first call from Ghostface. Now, if you guys have watched this video, I will leave it at the end screen of this video. If you guys have watched my last video about Charlie Walker being alive, then you know that I believe that he is the one who is actually walking past the Carpenter sisters in this scene. But what is even more important, in my opinion, to focus on is the direction that before you get the light shined on this character, the direction that this hooded character is coming from. This hooded character is coming from the direction of the bodega. Why that is important is because right after the Carpenter sisters get attacked in the bodega, we know that Ghostface leaves this mask on the ground. It is later confirmed by Detective Bailey that this mask belongs to Charlie Walker and Jill Roberts. Now, what is important about how Detective Bailey introduced that fact is that he put Charlie Walker's name first. Now, that may not seem like a lot to you guys, but to me, it's a little bit telling. And the reason why is because for so long, Jill has always been superior to Charlie. Charlie hardly even gets, really mentioned in the same breath as being one of the killers from Scream 4. A lot of people side with Jill Roberts. So the fact that Detective Bailey's character said Charlie Walker first, in my opinion, actually is somewhat of a subtle clue that maybe, this is just like a little subtle clue actually putting Charlie ahead of Jill in this instance. Now, it could mean nothing, but it's something that I kind of personally take as just a little subtle clue, like, they're making it a point, the writers are making it a point to put Charlie ahead of Jill. Again, that's just my speculation on that. But what is even more important, especially after the bodega scene, is that almost directly after the bodega scene attack, we get introduced to Kirby Reed. Now, why is this important? Well, after going back and rewatching the film and actually doing some research, the fact that Kirby Reed is there so soon is very, very suspicious. For the simple fact is she's coming from Atlanta. It would take a few hours flight time and 16 hours driving distance time for Kirby Reed to arrive in New York City on this night that everything's taking place. Jason gets killed, Greg gets killed. We know she's connected to them because they are from Atlanta, and she has been tracking their online activity for quite some time. But why this makes Kirby Reed obviously suspicious is because she would not have had enough time to get to New York City, that same night. Where am I going with this? To me, this proves that Kirby Reed was already in New York City before the events of Jason Carvey getting killed, Greg Brockner getting killed, Laura getting killed took place in the opening scene of Scream 6. Okay, everyone, so before I get into this next clue, I want to give a shout out to Ryan from 5 Star Tributes, as he is the one who actually put me onto this clue initially and provided me the shot you see to the right of the subway scene from Scream 6. Now, what is the clue that we see in this overlay that I provided you guys? Well, if you look close enough, you can see that this same hooded figure that is seen walking past the Carpenter sisters when Samantha gets her first call from Ghostface, that I believe to be Charlie Walker, is also at the subway scene. Take it for what you will, but in my opinion, this is no coincidence. Now, let's talk about the subreddit, shall we? We all know since Scream 5 that somebody created a subreddit, which is how Richie, Kirsch, and Amber Freeman met, because Amber actually brought this up in the final act scene of the film. We know for a fact that there was a subreddit account made that gathered all these Stab fans together to have conversations, what have you. And you even know this to be true as well because Amber, once again, she says, I wanted to be a part of something. I was radicalized. Now, why I believe this could be Charlie Walker, Kirby Reed, and Stu Macher, even more so Charlie and Kirby than Stu himself. I just feel like Stu is the ringleader, if you will. He's the head honcho of these three, and potentially more, as I do believe there are more that is, you can say a cult of Stu Macher, if you will. I do believe Stu has more people in his cult, but we're just talking about Kirby and Charlie in this video working with him. Now, why the Stab Reddit account is significant, especially when it comes to Kirby and Charlie, is because they are massive Stab fans themselves. As you've seen in Scream 4, Kirby Reed even said that Sidney Prescott is the reason why she loves horror movies. This is another thing to take note of as well. Kirby Reed was part of Cinema Club, and she also showed up to Stabathon in support of Charlie. Why this is significant is because, as well, Jason Carvey is from Atlanta. He is tied to Kirby. As Kirby said, him and Greg were from Atlanta, and she was monitoring their online social media activity for a few months. Why was she doing so? She never gave a clear-cut answer why she was doing that. Even Detective Bailey asked her why, and she says, I take a special interest in Ghostface attacks. Now, why that piece of dialogue is really interesting to me is because in Scream 6, it is implied that Jason never killed anybody before up until he killed Laura, which is why he was explaining how it felt killing Laura to who he thought was Greg on the phone. So for Kirby to say, I have a special interest in Ghostface attacks, which is why I am monitoring these two guys who happen to be trying to finish Richie Kirsch's movie is very, very odd to me. For the simple fact is, does Kirby know something we don't know? Were there Ghostface attacks happening in Atlanta? And in my opinion, if there was, how could it be Jason and Greg, especially if Jason never stabbed somebody before? Something to keep in mind and think about. But the biggest thing for me, why I believe, this could be Kirby Reed and Charlie Walker and Stu Macher handling the stab Reddit, is because of all the Easter eggs that we've gotten, especially as I talked about earlier in the video, the Easter eggs that we got from Scream 5 in the opening scene. You can make a case that there's Easter eggs for all three of these characters in that opening scene. And that is important because then that shows you that they are working as a cohesive unit. Now, again, I will say I don't think Stu Macher himself has so much to do with the stab Reddit. I just think he's the ringleader. He's the master. He's the one that they're taking orders from. But it definitely makes more sense for Kirby and Charlie to be running a stab Reddit account because they are stab fans. They would know how to talk to these people, and they are part of the newer generation. So they would understand how these, stab fans feel about Stab 8 and how it sucked, etc., etc. And they would know how to reel in fans of the franchise to possibly want to recreate their own requel, much like Richie Kirsch did in Scream 5. They could be the motivating force behind that because they would know how to speak the same language in dialogue. Another thing to take note of in Jason Carvey's scene, in the opening scene of Scream 6, is the cameras. As you hear Jason say to who he believes to be Greg, "You're using the effing cameras." Now, why I bring that up is because we know for a fact that Charlie Walker and Jill Roberts used cameras in Scream 4 to record the killings, to upload them to social media. Now, I understand that these were Greg and Jason's cameras, but we also have to keep in mind that Ghostface used it against Jason. So, again, just another clue, in my opinion, that points to Charlie Walker or Kirby Reed possibly being involved in the opening scene. Now, some of you will ask, if this is true, that Charlie Walker is alive, Stu Macher is alive, and Kirby Reed is involved with them, and they all are helping each other, you will ask yourself, why? What is their motive exactly? Well, let me start with Charlie and Stu. Charlie and Stu have a lot more similarities than a lot of us, I believe, realize. For starters, both of them are undervalued and underappreciated as Ghostface killers. Now, I know the fan base, a lot of the fan base wants to see Stu Macher come back and believe that he is alive. But I'm speaking about in the context of Scream the movie. Stu never got his due diligence like Billy Loomis did. The same could be same for Charlie Walker, and even more so for Charlie Walker, because hardly anybody gives Charlie any acknowledgement for the job that he did, the brutal job that he did in Scream 4. Everybody always talks about Jill. It's Jill, 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 which is why Charlie and Stu both could team up and work together because they feel undervalued. They feel underappreciated. They feel like their art as Ghostface killers is not loved or beloved by the fan base or acknowledged by characters such as Sidney Prescott or whoever, what have you, and all that stuff. They hardly get any recognition. They are outshined by their partners, Jill and Billy. That's the reason why I believe Stu and Charlie have a lot more similarities than a lot of people actually think. Another thing to take note of too is that Jill's whole plan was to turn Charlie into the new Stu Macher, as Sidney Prescott pointed out in Scream 4 when Jill stabs Charlie. "You're right, Charlie. Trevor and you're the new Billy and Stu. Trevor's Billy, Charlie is Stu." Again, this is, a perfect setup as to why these two are a lot more connected than what a lot of us probably even realized to begin with. And in my opinion, would be the perfect motive why these two should team up. Now, you'll ask, where does Kirby Reed come into play in this whole picture? Well, I have two scenarios for Kirby Reed. If you guys have been watching my channel over the last few months, then you know that I did a video talking about Scream 4 and how Kirby Reed could have actually been involved in Scream 4 as a third possible killer. I will leave that video also at the end screen of this video for those who have not watched it, so you guys can take a glimpse and see what I'm talking about. Be sure to leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on that video. But the other reason why I believe that Kirby Reed could potentially be a Ghostface killer flipped. Let's just say she wasn't involved in Scream 4, but now she is flipped. She's turned herself into the dark side. She wants to be a part of, these Ghostface killings, what have you. The reason why Kirby has decided to flip is because as a survivor, she did not get the recognition she feels she deserved. Much like Charlie and Stu, she feels undervalued and underappreciated as a final girl, as a survivor, as somebody who survived her Ghostface stabbing, what have you. She didn't get no movie deal offers for her story. As far as we know, she did not get any book made on her story. As far as we know Gail did a book about Scream 4, but we don't know the context in that book. We do know that Kirby did get an interview along the way, but that interview wasn't like it was setting the world on fire. Hardly anybody even knew Kirby Reed was alive, in my opinion, which is why I believe, especially in terms of coming after the Carpenter sisters, even though I do still think Samantha could be involved herself, I will touch on that in a later video. And I do believe that Stu has a few more people in this cult, if you will, that could be teaming up with him and Charlie and Kirby. But, to get back to Kirby here, I believe that because you see Samantha getting that national attention. You see her on the news. You see her, even though she was being framed, you still see her getting that attention. They wanted to make a movie about it. Gail wanted to make a movie about the events that happened in Scream 5, but couldn't get the movie deal because everything is all about true crime now. So again, this could be jealousy from Kirby Reed, especially given her history, Samantha Carpenter. She knows who Samantha Carpenter is. She could be jealous at all the publicity that Samantha is getting, as well as Tara, as survivors. Now, you may all have a couple questions. Questions like, why would Kirby Reed help Charlie Walker after all these years, especially when he tried to kill her in Scream 4? Well, this goes back to my theory that Kirby Reed was involved with Charlie Walker and Jill Roberts all along in Scream 4, and that she was an unrevealed Ghostface killer, and that her stabbing by Charlie Walker was nothing more than a fake out. And I believe this even more now than ever after what I've seen from Kirby in the shrine when she approaches Jill's flannel. Now, you would think that being that Jill tried to have her killed, right? And she would be feeling betrayed by her best friend for that. You would think that Kirby would have some type of animosity in her face, some type of anguish when looking at that piece of clothing that was Jill's, right? It's not what we got. Instead, we see Kirby kind of admiring Jill's flannel, tugging on it in an emotional type of way that, in my opinion, kind of made me feel like in that moment she was missing Jill. Now, why I find that fascinating is because why would obviously you be missing someone or share something even emotional with somebody who tried to kill you? I get it that was your best friend at one point, but she betrayed you in the most craziest way possible. She tried to have you killed. Why would you be admiring her piece of clothing that she died in that way? Again, something to take in mind, you guys, especially with that scene from Kirby in Scream 6, and why I think that lines up especially for Charlie is because if Kirby's not mad at Jill for what Jill did, why would she be mad at Charlie for stabbing her? Especially if she was involved in Scream 4 and that whole sequence of her getting stabbed was planned. Now, an even bigger question you might be asking yourself, and rightfully so, it's a really big question. How would Stu and Charlie be out of prison and amongst us without Sidney, Gail, Dewey when he was alive, anybody, authorities knowing, right? Well, I know there's been a lot of theories out there that Stu faked his death, what have you. But I actually have this theory that Stu did go to jail, as well as Charlie Walker. Now, Stu Macher obviously would have been in jail 15 years before Charlie. Obviously, Charlie would have showed up around 2012, maybe even 2013, depending on how the trial went. But They both survived their wounds, and they are both serving life sentences in prison, right? Rightfully so. They're murderers. That's what usually happens even in real life. How would they escape prison if everybody knows they're alive? How would they escape prison without nobody knowing? How this can work is, especially if Kirby Reed was helping Jill and Charlie all along, and now she's out there in the field. Now she's out as an FBI agent. So now she has resources. She may have been keeping in contact with Charlie after all these years, right? How this works for them escaping prison is that they fake their deaths in prison. Scream 6 and Scream 3 showed you how this can be done, and I'm going to explain why. To avoid a convoluted mess of making it look like they were slaughtered in prison, like somebody stabbed them up, poked them up, etc., I think it would be a better idea if Charlie and Stu decided to fake their deaths in the manner that Roman did, by basically stopping their pulse for however long as they could. The reason why I say that's a better plan, because then you avoid all this convolution of somebody basically fake stabbing them and there's blood and all that. How would they get the fake blood in there and all that stuff? By them stopping their pulse and basically playing dead, now the authorities all but think they're dead, and now their bodies are going to get shipped to the morgue, where Kirby, much like Detective Bailey did in Scream 6 with his daughter Quinn, could pull the old switcheroo. Maybe a couple of prosthetic bodies, or maybe even some real victim bodies that look like Stu and Charlie that she killed or what have you, or the other cult members killed that they have that they're going to do the switch with. However, the point is to switcheroo. This could easily be done, especially when you have somebody like an FBI agent on your side to give you resources and to pull off certain stunts, especially if they have other people working with them, and Kirby wouldn't be working alone trying to get Stu and Charlie out alone by herself. This could definitely work. And why I believe this can definitely work more than anything is because then you squash all the questions about how did Stu, escape prison time? How does nobody know he's out of jail if he is alive? All that stuff. And the same can be said for Charlie. That squashes all those questions because everybody thinks they're dead. The authorities think they're dead. Sydney, Gail, Dewey, when they got the call about it, they all think that these two are dead, especially Stu. And in my opinion, I think this is an even better way to bring back these supposedly dead characters, because you cut out all that extra convoluted stuff and you kind of do make it a little bit easier to where it makes sense, especially if it is revealed that Kirby Reed has been involved the entire time, like I believe she has. So again, you guys, this a speculation and a theory I have, but I definitely do think, especially in terms of explaining how these two murderers escape prison, I definitely think that theory can work a lot better than some of the other theories that even I myself have came up with as reasons as to why Stu and now even Charlie could be alive. Another thing that I want to point out here, from the scene from the shrine, is that I don't know if any of you noticed this, but I did not see any drawings of Kirby Reed, Charlie Walker, nor Stu Macher in that shrine. And why I bring that up, and I think it's kind of important and significant, is because where I have it pointed here on the overlay, you see Ethan standing in front of a case that has a drawing of Sarah Michelle Gellar's character from Scream 2, CeCe Cooper. Now, why am I making a big fuss about this? Well, because CeCe Cooper was nothing more than a character who was just there to be killed. Sarah Michelle Gellar was a big name. We know this. Scream loves to add the big names to kill them off. You've seen it even in Scream 6 with Samara Weaving. You've seen it at the beginning of Scream 2 with Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett, so on and so forth. So why is there a drawing of CeCe Cooper when she wasn't even a main character or like that? I get it, she's part of the Stab franchise, but she's not even a main character, y'all. Like she's not Stu, she's not Charlie, she's not Kirby. These three were all main characters. And another thing I point out too is that you've seen drawings of all the other main characters, like, what's his name? Billy, Sam, Dewey, all that. Now, you did see the drawing of Principal Henry, and you can make the same argument with him as well, just like C.C. Cooper. Yeah, Henry Winkler is a big star, he's a legend and all that, but his character was only there to get killed off as well. So why do we have these drawings of these characters that really didn't really fit into the whole legacy of the Scream franchise in terms of story? They were just kill-off characters. Why are these characters' drawings there, but these three main characters in Kirby Reed, Charlie Walker, and Stu Macher's drawings are not there in that shrine? Something I think we all should be questioning for sure. Now, what is interesting even more about these drawings, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong because I did not catch them, I did my due diligence, and I didn't see any. I didn't see any drawings of Stu Macher nor Charlie Walker in this shrine. Now, I know we get the gown of Stu, and I know that we get the button-up shirt that Charlie got stabbed in. I know that. But we didn't get any drawings of these two. And why I bring that up is because you do see a drawing of Kirby Reed to the far left when they are entering the shrine. You guys got to really look close. There is a drawing of Kirby Reed in this shrine, and in a display. Why I bring this up, though, is because when you look at all the other characters that have drawings in this shrine, like Jennifer Jolie, like C.C. Cooper, Casey Becker, Principal Henry, Billy Loomis, Gail Weathers even has a picture in this shrine, Dewey. The reason why I bring up all these other characters, though, outside of Gail Weathers and Sidney Prescott and Kirby Reed, is the fact that all the other characters that I named off, they're all dead. But yet, Gail Weathers, Kirby Reed, and Sidney Prescott and Samantha Carpenter, all these characters that have drawings in this shrine are alive. And I bring that up because all of these characters are still involved in the franchise today. I know Sidney did not play in Scream 6, but she was involved in Scream 5. In my opinion, I think they are at least hinting by not having Charlie and Stu's drawings in the shrine, they are at least hinting at the possibility that these two are indeed alive. It is going to be interesting to see what Scream 7 has in store for us. I will say that I am very optimistic that in Scream 7 we will be getting Ghostface killers that we thought were dead in previous sequels that are actually going to be revealed to be alive, and once again causing havoc not only in the Scream franchise, not only possibly just in Woodsboro, but wherever we go to next for Scream 7. But okay, everyone, that is it for this video. Leave a comment in the comment section below and share your thoughts on this theory of Stu Macher, Kirby Reed, and Charlie Walker working together, as well as let me know your thoughts on Charlie Walker and Stu Macher being alive, as well as do you guys like the theory of them faking their deaths from prison? Do you think it would be more credible for them to fake their death from prison than to fake their death from outside of prison? Once again, this is I Shot Him 6 Times, YouTube horror movie channel. I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. Thank you all for watching.